Hi everyone, it's Mackenzie and today I am coming back to do a question and answer video. It is my very first question and answer video. I took all the questions that I got. I'm really excited for this, and a lot of them that are maybe a little deeper I'm not going to be able to explain fully in this video, but there are a few that I plan to elaborate on their own video soon. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump right in. The first question I have is, how did I meet my husband? And Steven and I actually met at a ballroom dancing class. So we both were taking ballroom dancing classes. Steven and I ended up as dance partners. So that is actually how we met. And then eventually, through the same people who did the dance class, we became part of a play and had main parts and kind of got to know each other through that as well. The second question I have is, how long did you guys date? And it was about 6 to 7 months of dating before we got engaged. And then we were engaged for 10 months. So about 16, 17 months total before we got married. Describe your wedding day. Obviously that would take a long time to describe like every part of my wedding day, but I'll just tell you guys a little bit about it. We got married March 21st, 2010, and we had a small wedding in a nice little bed and breakfast that was super cute. I was in college and we both worked full-time, and actually I think Steven was in college a little bit too, part-time. And so we didn't want to like spend all the time and money to plan every little detail, and we were able to find a great deal at this bed and breakfast where we basically got to meet up with them once and tell them like what colors, flowers, and foods we wanted, and then they put it all together and it was beautiful. It was March 21st, which is supposed to be the first day of spring, or maybe the second day of spring, and it snowed, so we were all freezing. There was a little bit of drama going on, so I was worried that it was going to be a big problem. I mean, it was a little nerve-wracking because of that, and I was just like super stressed out and overwhelmed, and my brother-in-law actually asked me if I was going to walk out on my husband, which I wasn't really considering doing it, but when he said that, it kind of was like, oh, maybe I should. Because I was really nervous and young, but I'm so glad that I didn't, and everything worked out perfectly and beautifully. It really was a great day to look back on. Question number 4 is, how many houses have we lived in together? We first started out in a little 1-bedroom apartment, and we lived there for I think about 1.5 years. Went to boot camp and skill school, and I moved in with my grandma, so we didn't live there together. When he got done with all of his training and stuff, he and I moved state for a little bit, and we lived in a duplex, a little 2-bedroom duplex with a yard. It was super cute, and that's where we lived when Evelyn was a newborn and when I started making my YouTube videos. And so we lived there. And then it worked out perfectly. We thought we were going to have to rent when we moved back out of that state back into our original state, but a totally different city. And we thought we were going to have to rent for a while, but it actually worked out that everything lined up perfectly, that we never had to rent again when we moved to this city, and we moved right into the house that we bought, which is this house, which we bought it about, it's almost been 4 years ago. So actually we have only lived in 3 places together. Our first 1-bedroom apartment, the rental house that we were in while he was still training out of state, and then this home that we bought together. How many children do we plan on having? And man, that is a loaded question, but for this video I will just say that we would like to have another one, a 4th child. And we are not opposed to having more than that. So I'll just leave it at that for now, and I might make another video. Question number 6 is, will I make trying to conceive videos or TTC videos? And I think that I am going to make TTC videos when we start trying this next time. And that should be actually coming up very soon, so you guys can keep out watching for those. It made us decide to homeschool. And I might also make a video about how that all came about and where our convictions are with it now. But originally, the first thing that made us decide to homeschool was that Evelyn was 2 years old and showing interest in learning how to read. And especially with her birthday being in October, if we sent her to public school, when she would go, she would be nearly 6 years old by the time she ever went to kindergarten. So we just felt like it would be a disservice to her at the time to just wait and wait and wait before we did anything. So we went ahead and started homeschooling preschool, thinking, you know, we'll teach her everything we can and then we'll send her to public school. And then it just evolved. And now she is about to finish kindergarten in the next couple weeks and she's 4 years old. Long story short, we don't plan to not homeschool, which question number 8 is, will you send your kids to public school eventually? At this time, our plan is to homeschool all the way through. Now, I've always said though, I never want to be so prideful or so dead set in what I want that I miss out on what my children need. So if for any reason we ever thought that, you know what, this isn't working out, our kids would be better off in public school or better off in private school, we would certainly consider that and do what we needed to do. But at this moment in time, that is not part of our plan. Next question is, what job did you do before kids? And as a teenager, I worked at Taco Bell for a little bit. Then also at the same time, my first job was working for a dog and cat grooming shop. So I worked there and I started out as a bather and I just bathed the animals, clipped their toenails, and then I eventually learned how to like shave them down and do some of that kind of stuff. I never did do like scissoring really, but I did shaves and paw pads, breed trims a little bit, stuff like that. And then I moved up. I still did all that stuff, but then eventually I took in management positions and scheduling and like doing the finance books at the end of every day and stuff like that. So I did that for a little over 4 years, working at the grooming shop, starting from a bather up to shop manager. And then I went to school for early childhood education. And from there, I worked, while I was still working at the grooming shop, I took a job at a daycare and I went to work part-time at the grooming shop and it started working as a 1-year-old teacher at the daycare. Finished school, became a director at that daycare. It was small and I moved up into the director position and was doing directing, planning, scheduling teachers, meeting with the parents, all of that, you know, tours, everything. And then had Evelyn and started staying home with her. We moved out of state, babysat a couple kids, and eventually went back to work for a short time as an assistant director at another daycare here in town. But yeah, so before I had kids, I worked at the grooming shop, and then I also was a director at a daycare and preschool. Question number 10 is, what was life like before motherhood? And for me, life was crazy before motherhood and still a little crazy, but I was working all the time and going to school all the time. So before I was a mom, I was very, very busy and I was still sleep deprived, and I just worked. I worked like 55 hours a week and I went to school, and that's just what I did. I hung out with friends here and there, but I never did have like a lot of really great friends or anything. Like most of my friends, it was just like when it was convenient for them. I have a few that are really actually good friends, like genuinely great friends, but I mostly just worked and went to school and took care of my sister for a while and helped out with people I knew. Question number 11, what are my hobbies now besides YouTube? And my hobbies, I have a wide variety of hobbies, but I don't get to put a lot of time into any of my hobbies. But I really love playing board games. I love board games. I like to get together with friends and play like Dominion, Settlers of Catan, Ticket to Ride, those kind of games, strategy games. I really like it. My husband jokes that my love language is board games because that's what I like to do. I also really like to be outside, hiking. We love doing a garden every year. We did take this year off, but normally every summer we're doing a big garden, and I love gardening. I've been doing that since I was a kid, And I used to scrapbook a lot. I don't really do that anymore. I think that kind of turned into YouTube eventually is what happened there. Being out of the house and doing things. And I love swimming, but I don't really swim anymore because I don't want to take all 3 kids to the pool by myself. Things like that. Number 12, what is my favorite meal to cook for our family? And I will just say that I like to cook for our family, but I don't get super creative usually. So probably my favorite things is just stuff I can throw in the crock pot. We do chili and taco soup quite a bit. I also like to just make like barbecue chicken breast with mashed potatoes, broccoli and cauliflower, stuff like that. We keep it pretty simple. It's usually, you know, either soup or chili like as a meal with vegetables in it, or it's you know, a meat, a carb, and a vegetable. I don't really have one thing that I love to make. My favorite meal to like eat is lasagna, but I don't necessarily love cooking that for my family because it's super messy with toddlers and it's really just a pain. Have I always been a Christian? No, I have not always been a Christian. How has anybody always been a Christian? Nobody's born a Christian. I think they probably mean like since childhood. This is a very loaded question as well. I'm just gonna say no, and I'll just say that when I was 14, I started going to church on my own in a youth group, and I gave my life to God when I was 14. And I was on fire for about 2 or 3 years there, just like really loved church, really poured in, but I never really like stuck out the Bible for myself. And then I eventually did backslide, and that happened for several years, in fact, and I never would have said that I wasn't a Christian in that time. I always believed, but I wasn't really following God. So then probably just in the last 2 or 3 years, I've really decided to follow God again and kind of rededicated my life and went back that way. No, I haven't always been a Christian, and even when I believed, I wasn't always necessarily following. So I'll just leave it at that. I think I'll do a video of my whole testimony at some point, but that's the short story. Question number 14. How often do our parents babysit? So my parents are Steven's parents, and the answer is really never. There's a variety of reasons why, and I don't really want to get into it all. Been, I think, 2 times that what has happened is I had sick children that had to go to the emergency room, where Steven's mom came for just a couple hours, and his sister together, and babysat at our house for a little bit. But overall, we don't leave our children with grandparents. But they do get to see their grandparents. We go see Steven's parents every couple weeks, and my parents whenever we can. I mean, our kids have relationships with all of their grandparents. So, question number 15 is, do my kids have sleepovers? And no, we kind of don't like doing the sleepover thing. I stayed with my grandma for a few days, but she hasn't slept over with her friends or anything. And my grandma that raised me, she stayed with her for a couple of days, not a parent. But yes, yeah, we don't really do sleepovers, and I don't love that idea, so we don't really do that much. We've had kids stay here, but we don't send our kids on sleepovers. Is my husband home daily or gone often for work and business? And he is usually home daily. However, he is in the Air Force, so there is 1 weekend a month that he is not home, that he leaves, goes out of state where we used to live, and does his duty weekend. So there's 1 full weekend a month that he's gone, and there is usually 2 weeks a year that he's gone. Sometimes it's longer, like 6 weeks. And then obviously if he gets deployed, so he, like in the past, has been deployed for about 3 months. That's happened. So, but most of the time he works a civilian job and he's home every day, you know, either morning or evening, one or the other. So that is all the questions for now. So I hope that that kind of told you guys a little bit more about me and our family. And if you have any further questions below, or if there's anything you'd like me to do a more in-depth video on, and specific like sub questions you want, go ahead and let me know. If I get more questions, I will certainly do another Q&A video at some point, because it's really fun to just like, some of these things you just don't think to talk about in depth, or you can't in like a short vlog. I liked doing this, and thank you guys so much for watching. Go ahead and leave your comments or questions, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys very soon for our next video. Thank you. Bye.